Welcome back to In Their Own Words. I'm your host, Kim Kotis, and I'm here today with Jodi Clock. Jodi is the author of Navigating the Eldercare Journey and Without Going Broke. And Jodi, we were talking about preparing for end-of-life decisions and how do we really try and make sense of it all, and you gave some wonderful advice. Can you talk about some of the practical aspects that we need to consider in terms of, decisions in terms of, do we need to hire an attorney, advance directives, living wills? Can you explain some of that? Because I think people hear that, but unless they face it, they don't really know what it is.
You are so right, and you just threw out a mouthful. First, you really need to do is you need to get a plan, and whether that plan is you want to do it yourself or you want to pay a professional. So what this book tries to do is it tries to get you to compartmentalize. So let's just talk about healthcare for a minute. We have what we call the healthcare spin cycle. The healthcare spin cycle is you're healthy, you get sick, you come out of the hospital, you get sick again, and you finally do that, whether it's you fall down and you break a hip or you have lung issues, you have some sort of debilitating disease or functionality of your body to where you're kind of doing the ping pong dance or whatever it is back and forth, and then all of a sudden you realize you cannot live by yourself. So during that healthcare spin cycle, it forces you to think of what you don't want. Do you want to live out your life comfortably? Do you want heroic measures to revive you and bring you back? If you have a disease like Lou Gehrig's disease, do you want heroic measures, or do you just want to die comfortably? So I know I just took that question to an extreme, but it forces you to think about exactly where is that pivotal moment or that fine line for you. So advanced directives allows you to do that. And, we should all be familiar with Terry Schiavo, Karen Quinlan. I mean, all of those things that were out there. You had a lot of families break up and have arguments, and those were really unnecessary. And again, those are extremes. They were highly publicized, and these are very young people. So now let's just say that's your parents, you're emotionally charged, you're in a heated moment, and if they haven't said, no, if I can't have any quality of life, the medical field, their job is to keep you alive. So quite frankly, at that point, they don't care because you didn't sign a document that gave them directions on what you want and how you want to do that. Their job is to keep you alive, period, end of sentence. So that's one of the things it forces you to do. To the second point of that question, if I processed it correctly, was, an attorney, or what about the legal work? Well, once again, this book is compartmentalized and designed. So if in fact you want to get an attorney but have the best of both worlds and want to save some big nickels, as my father-in-law says, so save a few dollars, is you've got to do that due diligence yourself. And so what that means is, let's just pick on an attorney. Everybody says they have an attorney. Well, that's great. What kind of attorney do you have? Do you have an estate planner? Do you have a general legal counsel? Do you have someone that specializes in contract law? There are all kinds of attorneys out there. And the attorneys who specialize, let's just say, in contract law, really don't have much familiarity with the law on elder care. They know about it, they know enough to be dangerous, but they don't know the things that change regularly, either nationally or on the state level, or in the county level. I mean, things are rolling on a regular basis. So what you want to do is you want to go out and you want to interview an attorney. I mean, it is no different than your health care. Years ago, there was all this push for you to become your own advocate on your health care and to get a second opinion and sometimes a third opinion, and don't just assume that the doctor is always right. Well, don't just assume that attorney is always right, because someone who is an estate planner, they're very good at getting stuff in order for your estate, your wealth, but they may not be good in positioning it in those elder years and reallocating it because there are attorneys that do nothing but elder care, and they do nothing but make sure people can qualify for Medicaid, that their next of kin knows what's in force. They may act as a guardian sometimes if there is no next of kin, and they want to make sure that to the letter of the law everything is in its place, so it sequentially has that domino effect. And so you need to know those right questions to ask. And, you know, depending on if you're married or if you're single, widowed, I mean, there's all kinds of scenarios out there. You need to have some solid questions that fits you. So there's really no one cookie cutter approach. You really need to have an advocate, and you have to feel comfortable with the answers you get. And it's okay to fire an attorney. If you get in the process and you're just not comfortable, okay, so you part. Everybody, you know, there's a cost of doing business, but so what? It's all relevant. You want to make sure you get that attorney that can represent you and reallocate your wealth. And when I say wealth, I'm not talking big wealth in terms of millions of dollars. I'm talking the average person in Muskegon County. We're looking at someone who might have a house or a cottage, a car, a boat, maybe a second car, a pension, $75,000, maybe up to $250,000 or even $500,000, above and beyond some of those material assets I just shared. And there are things that can be done, but if they're not done correctly,
pretty costly.
Yeah, it could be devastating.
Well, you touched on some important points there, and one of the things that can happen is someone may have a business relationship that could be in conflict. So if you have a business attorney, he may not understand the needs of the family.
Exactly.
And may have competing interests within a family. And I'm sure that often comes into play as well.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Why do you think that we're really missing that in the general understanding in the public, that there is no guidance? I know we've come to it because out of consumer necessities, but isn't that just basic sense that we really consider follow through? I mean, we all want to live forever, but we don't think about what happens when you get to the other end.
Well, I see lots of things through the funeral home. And over my last 25 years in the death care profession, what I can be pretty confident in saying is that we are a death avoidance society. It is a topic that we don't want to talk about. You know, I often say funeral is that F word. And, you know, funerals they're not fun. When someone picks up the phone and they call any of the area funeral homes around here, it's not a good day. They're not there to say, how you doing, and, you know, let's go to coffee. They've lost a loved one, and they want to know that they're going to be taken care of, and they want to know that they can afford the care that they need, especially at that time. So that's why, once again, pre-planning a funeral, taking care of all of your affairs is just, it's key, it's paramount.
Well, one of the things I'm sure that you must face in this business and people face in general is, do they have enough money to meet these demands when the time comes? And are there other choices? Are they just become, you know, wards of the county or something?
Well, there's really not too many wards of the county. What I hear you saying is, you know, what do they do if they don't have any money? Is that correct?
Yeah, makes sense.
Well, that's when they go on Medicaid. And, you know, Medicaid, that's a hot topic. That's a buzzword. But those are some real issues. And Medicaid, you've got Medicaid for children. You've got Medicaid for husbands and wives and families trying to survive. But when you get to that end of life, of which we're talking about, and which is why I just want to stay specific on that end of it, is people often make the mistake, and I want to be very clear, it is a big myth that if someone dies, whether they go to Clock Funeral Home or any of the other good funeral homes in town, that government isn't going to take care of you. They might have helped you live, and they might have helped you survive with your food, but there is no Medicaid funeral, all right, period. So if you've been on Medicaid your whole life, there is no Medicaid funeral. There is a Department of Human Services stipend that the state will award for a form of a funeral, cremation or burial, but it is very, very limited. And sadly, the people look at us, really all the funeral homes, like we're the bad guy. You know, we deserve this funeral. Yes, you deserve. Everybody deserves a funeral, and everybody deserves to have their story told and their life remembered and honored. That's a God-given right, and I strongly believe in that. But funeral homes are businesses, and they deserve to be paid a fair profit for a fair price. And Medicaid will not bury them. What Medicaid will do, however, is take care of them while they're living throughout their end of life or their last breath, whether that be in their home with hospice care and or in a nursing home under their doctor's care or hospice, or in the hospital. So that is what Medicaid will do. But that is very costly, and if you don't prepare your personal wealth correctly with the Estate Recovery Act, you've left yourself exposed. So dollars spent on your care for Medicaid will go back into the pot at the government level for Medicaid. And I'm not here to tell you that's right or that's wrong. I'm here to put the facts out, and you do that decision.
Well, that's really important to know. So thank you so much for that, Jodi. And we'll be back in just a moment. So stay with us on In Their Own Words.